Good morning. Thank you for joining VirtualPBX-admin training. If you're a vConsole customer, we're no longer doing the live trainings for vConsole, but go to our website, go under support, and then go to vConsole support. You can get to the recorded trainings about halfway down, and that's over here on the right under advanced admin training. And that's the complete training for vConsole, covers all the features, etc. And then further down the page, you'll get to the specific guides for the various features, as well as guides for adding devices to the system. For Dash customers, we have a Dash support page as well. The complete training is actually under the new user training. And then further down, we've got the Dash guides for, again, specific features and devices. All right. In both cases, you go under support to get to the login page, respectively. And your username is your email address. Your company name or your account name is going to be your company name. And then your password. You can always click Remember Me. And then you also have a Forgot Info link over here to the right. And then you click Sign In. And we're taken to our dashboard page. Now, if you're a brand new sign up, the first time you log in, the system wizard comes up, gives you a brief rundown of things. Once you close out of that, you should be here in your dashboard. You have a couple different navigation options. So your dashboard is where you go to manipulate your system or get things set up. But over here, top right, on the three horizontal line icon, hamburger icon, right? So you can get to the dashboard, which is where we're on. Queues, this goes to call queues. So if you have ACD queues set up on your account, or you're going to, this is where you would go, and you can monitor them as well as add queues. Blacklists, this is a feature where you can block callers from connecting to your system. You just need to know their phone number. You can add it to a blacklist, and then once you put it in selected, those callers cannot reach your system. Faxes, as an admin, you can get to any fax box on the system, and you can see their inbound and outbound faxing. The monitor, this lets you see the current status of your staff members. Green means they're waiting for a call. Blue means they're on an inbound call. Yellow means they're on an outbound call. Orange is they're on wrap-up time, meaning they've just had a call that came in, and the system's giving a breather before it offers them a new call. And then red is marked unavailable. Recordings goes to the recordings manager, so you can download any call recordings you're making use of. The user portal, this is something every user has access to, whether they're an admin or not. Most will use it for checking their voicemails. They can look at their call history. They can see these here. The other big one they use is here, settings and devices, where they can enable their own call forwarding, so that if they know they're going to be away from their desk for a while, i.e. away from their VoIP phone, they can say, hey, send it to my cell phone, and then click on save. Voicemails, again, as an admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account and see what is there. And then lastly, there's webhooks. This is if you're making use of APIs to hook Dash into other software. And those are the main features over there. But we'll go back to the dashboard here to get into the nitty-gritty of the system. All right. So total users, these are all the users you have on the account. These are people who make and receive calls. They may or may not be in the ACD queues. That's going to be up to you, etc. And you're paying for each user you have on the account. Down below, we've got total devices. These are all the devices you have on the account. Unregistered devices means the system does not know if they're connected, i.e. a VoIP phone that's not powered on or is not plugged in. Over to the right, we have your main numbers. So these are numbers your customers dial to get to your system, i.e. to talk to you. These numbers all behave the same way. This means they have the same main greeting, and they all have the same initial routing. Your fax box number, this is so you can receive inbound faxes if you are doing so. You can also have another field here for your conference bridge number. Total numbers, these are all the numbers you have on the account. Assigned numbers, these are numbers you're using, i.e. they're going someplace. Either their main number, or they go directly to a particular user, or a ring group, or an ACD queue, etc. Spare numbers, these are numbers you have on your account, and you are being billed for them, but you're not using them immediately, i.e. they're going to ring busy, but you're saving them for future growth, or like you're going into a future market, that sort of thing. Down below, US DID, i.e. US local numbers, so in a specific region, and then US toll-free number. You can also have international numbers here as well. Company directory, and you can download it. These are the users you've said that, hey, I want them to show up in the company directory. You can change that at any time. Right here, the account ID, this long alphanumeric string here is your account number. Now, if you ever call into support or billing, we're not going to ask you for that number. We'll pretty much just ask you for your company name, but it's there if you ever need it. Account realm, you use this mostly for setting up third-party VoIP devices. So like, say if you're using a soft phone from Counterpath, like Xlite, you would use this to program that. And also if you're making use of outbound faxing, we use email to fax. So you use +1 area code and phone number, and then the @ symbol, and then your account realm would be in the to field of the email address that you're sending out. And then down here, you have your store discount code. Just by being a customer, you get a discount on anything you buy through our web store. Web store link right up here. Or sorry, right up here. This one's the web phone. All right, up here, we have caller ID. So select any of your main numbers, and then company caller ID name. This is restricted to 15 characters. That includes spaces or special characters. This is a industry standard. A couple things to keep in mind with CNAME is that it is not supported by every carrier in North America. So if we route a call through a carrier that doesn't support CNAME, that information does not get over to the destination device. Even for the carriers who do, if they're having unexpected call volume or they have some sort of service issue, right, that the company caller ID name is the first thing that drops, right? Their primary focus, any telecom, any phone company, their first priority is to connect the call, right? Make sure you can speak to the other person on the other end. Then the caller ID information, and then lastly, company caller ID name, which is the first thing that's dropped. Down below, company emergency address, or E911. This is for your VoIP phones. If you have a staff member pick up a VoIP phone, dial 911. This is the default address that it gets sent to emergency services. So obviously you want to make sure this is accurate. And you can also set it up by device. So if you have staff members working in different locations, they can have their own address set up so they're sending the right information. Hold music. So for hold music on Dash, this is after the inbound caller has connected to someone, right? So your staff member has picked up, made their introduction, talking to them. They need to put that customer on hold, put the hold button on their phone. This is the default music that will play. You can upload your own file. Dash accepts both MP3 and .wav files. Right now restricted to 1 megabyte in size. So like a 1 megabyte MP3, excuse me, is approximately 5 minutes. Should be plenty of time for hold music. One major thing to keep in mind for hold music or any media file you upload to Dash, or any phone system for that matter, is you want to make sure that it's recorded in mono, not in stereo. Right? When you're listening to something over the phone, you've got one speaker. So it's a mono device. If you upload a stereo file to, say, your hold music or your main greeting, when you call in, you're going to hear a lot of static because you got two audio streams kind of go through one speaker at the same time. It doesn't work. Obviously, if you've already uploaded files, you can always pick from them as well. And then click on Save Changes. And then we got hours. This is actually a part or subpart of the main number field on the left. And here we go. So by default, new customers or new accounts are set up as 24-hour open office, meaning, hey, you're open for business. Doesn't work for everyone. So if you scroll down, you change it to custom office hours, put a check mark in front of each day of the week that you're open. Over to the right, in these boxes here, you'll have a pull down. Set your office hours in 24-hour or military time that you're open. If your whole office or location is closed for lunch, you can put a check mark here. And then, again, put your lunch hours in 24-hour or military time. And then click on Save Changes. Office holidays, you can set your holidays in advance. First thing is, are you closed for holidays? Click on the check mark on the box, say yes, and then you add your holidays. So, single day holiday, oops. Be like this one, President's Day. You need to put in the date. Keep in mind that there's no year field, so each year you would have to change this. All right, you've got the date range. So in that case, let's get rid of this one. We got Christmas. Again, put the date range. The one thing to keep in mind about date range is that because you don't have a year field, that you do not want to do a date range that covers New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. In that instance, you'd want to do one for each, right? Single day for New Year's Eve, a single day for New Year's Day, and then if you're closed beyond that, you can do a date range. And then lastly, you have the advanced option. So right here, say March. So the second Monday in March, we're closed. Like company retreat, that sort of thing. Or company picnic. And again, save changes. And then here is the main thing, your incoming call handling. Basically, this is how your system is handling calls that come in on those main phone numbers. How do you want the system to handle it? Some things to keep in mind here is that you have these little sub-tabs here. So my open hours, so when I'm open for business. My lunch hours, after hours, so i.e. when we're closed. And then my holiday options. All right, then you've got the three options here, A, B, and C. So call comes in, goes to the virtual receptionist. Maybe click on the virtual receptionist link. Box will open up. Boom. All right, so on the left, we have your main menu. This is what people are going to press on their phones to navigate through your phone system, i.e. 1 for sales, 2 for support, that sort of thing. These are your menu options that you can choose from. So default action is if they do nothing or they keep hitting a wrong menu option, the system will say, okay, we're sending you here. Right? And then you've got 0 through 9 in the asterisk. Over here on the right, where are you sending them? All right, so you got groups, basically a group of people, like a department. You've got voicemail boxes. You've got ACD queues. You've got users. You can also send it to a voicemail box. You also have options for the media files, which typically is not recommended just because after the media file plays, the call is ended. You can also send it to a specific device. And if you do that, that means you're not going to get to a voicemail box on our system, right? So if you send it to a cell phone device, for example, they'll ring the cell phone. If the cell phone voicemail picks up, then yes, they can leave a message there. Over here on the right, you have your greeting options, right? So this is what plays when the system first connects, when a caller comes in on that main number. Text-to-speech, type in what you want to say. And when you click update, and then you hit save. So if I hit save here, then you also need to hit save changes here, right? Whenever you make a change in the virtual receptionist, save and save changes. But then that text-to-speech greeting is ready to go, and you're done. Now, if it doesn't sound quite right, or you need, oh, I forgot something, you can just click here again and edit it. Click update, click save changes. Good to go. Upload your own file. Again, .wave.mp3 in mono, up to 1 megabyte. Choose from something that you've already uploaded. Pretty self-explanatory. Record over the phone. So the system here is saying, hey, pick up a VoIP phone that you have on the account, dial your main number, and then enter this code, right, this PIN number, and then it'll walk you through setting up your main greeting. Now, if you already have a main greeting in place, let's say you've already uploaded a file, for example, you can still use the PIN number. It's just that it's not going to, when you first call in, it's not going to ask you for the PIN number, right? It's whatever greeting you have in place will start playing. You enter the PIN number, then it'll start walking you through recording over the phone. Professional recording services. We've partnered with another company. If you click on this link here, it'll take you to their site called Snap Recordings. They have like 100 different voice actors to choose from, both male and female. They have different versions of English. They have Spanish. They have French. You can do bilingual, multilingual. They also have packages that include. So this is just over here on the left is just like main greetings, like hey, press 1 for this, blah blah blah. Over here, you can do message on hold, so a mix of music and a script, that sort of thing. They handle their own billing. They also handle delivery. They know to either give you in .wave or .mp3, and then you would simply come back here and then upload your own file. Lastly, down here is a relatively new setting. Number of retries on missed dial. Basically, someone calls in, here's your main greeting, hit the wrong number. How many times are you letting them make a mistake before you send them the default action? Or if you don't have a default action set, it will disconnect the call. Again, if you have to make save changes, hit save, and then save again, or save changes here. All right, over here, this option, call comes in, and this is where you're trying to give someone a chance to answer the call first, right? So you have a receptionist ring group, for example, or a front desk ring group, operator ring group, or just a person, right? Mary is your receptionist, and you want to have it go to, or in this case, Bob is my receptionist, right? You can choose from other users and groups, etc. If they're not able to answer, then the call goes to the virtual receptionist, so your customer can then enter menu options if they hear a greeting, etc. One thing to keep in mind for both the B and C options here is that whenever we're ringing to a user or a group, we're only trying to reach out for 20 seconds, and that's hard-coded, which can be an issue if you're trying to send a call to people who are using cell phones. Basically, it takes longer to route a call to a cell phone than it does to, say, a landline or a VoIP phone, because basically each time a call goes out to them, we have to find the call. We have to find the device, right? Bouncing off cell towers to find your phone. And sometimes 20 seconds is not enough time for that. All right. Option 3, or C, call comes in to a user or a ring group and then goes to a voicemail box, right? So basically you're like, hey, this is my primary group of people to answer the phone or person. They're not able to get it, just send it to a voicemail box. We'll call them back. Now, you have these same 3 options for on your lunch, under your after hours, and for your holidays. So you can have them all to be the same. You can have them, switch it up, etc. So like during lunch, to say you have an answering service, you set them up as a group on the user. So then you say, hey, go to this answering service. We're on lunch. That sort of thing. All right. Main fax box number. Basically where you're receiving faxes. If you click edit fax box, actually it doesn't work on my account here because it's a test account, but you can choose the email address that you're sending it to, and you also have the option to add your company domain to enable anyone with that company domain to send a fax out. Right now, you want to avoid using something like yahoo.com or gmail.com, because then anyone with a Gmail account could conceivably send out faxes under your account. That'd be bad. All right, go over to numbers. So numbers just basically shows you numbers on your account. So numbers in use means they're going someplace. Right. Now, you notice that these top three here are red. These were port-in requests that haven't completed. But down below here, you've got all the other numbers and where they're going. All right. You always have a gear icon next to a phone. You can set up the caller ID for a specific phone number, the E911. Prepend is something for VoIP phone users. Basically, for sending a call to a VoIP device, we can add additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID name information, so that way your staff member knows, oh, this is a call going directly to me, or to like a ring group, whatever. Sync is basically if you think that the number is in the wrong spot, i.e. it was a spare number and you thought you moved it over to an active number, but it's still showing up in spare, you can click sync next to the number and the system will try to refresh the database. Speaking of spare numbers, this is where your spare numbers are. And you see them here, listed here. Up here, you can always buy a new number, or add is the other synonym here. So if you've just signed up and you didn't pick a number when you signed up, for example, you would come here, click on buy, and then search for a number. Now, if you're under your account limit for phone numbers, you're not going to be charged for that additional number. Once you go over that, like normally it's 2 for most accounts or 3, then you would be charged. But you would do a search for local. Let's see if we have anything in LA. Right, unfortunately, nothing in 310 because it's a busy area. You go back to your search. We'll try 408. 408 in San Jose. Ooh, nothing in San Jose. That seems strange. There we go. 669 is an overlay for the 408 area code, so there will be plenty. And you'll just click on add, and then click on buy numbers. Once you click on buy numbers, it's adding it to your account. Right now, this account is well over the limit for a number of phone numbers that are part of my plan. Right, so my plan would be my first 2 numbers are included in my plan price. I have something like 20 something numbers on my account here, so adding this one is going to add my bill by $5. All right. So buy for toll free. You pick one of the toll free prefixes. Excuse me. Click on search, and the system will tell you, hey, here's what's available. Again, click add, click buy. It added to your account. Now, for toll free numbers, if you're interested in what's referred to as a vanity toll free number, so like it spells out something, for that you're going to want to email porting@virtualpbx.com. Give us the parameters that you're looking for, i.e., I want a phone number to spell, go walk or something like that. And you don't care about the toll-free prefix. They will search and see what's available and give you your options that exist or that are available. Now, there can be instances where there's nothing available. That unfortunately happens. If you're looking for true 800 numbers, so it starts with 1-800 specifically, those can be harder to get and can be more expensive. Over here, you have port. This lets you port in a phone number, i.e., let's say you're bringing it from AT&T to VirtualPBX. And I'm going to bring up the guide that we have on our site because it's easier to see this way. Once I find it. There it is. So you add new port request. We do recommend that you read the FAQs, but then you add the number, one area code number. You need to read that particular box there. Essentially, to port a phone number, you need two accounts. One and two active accounts. Let me rephrase that. So the account number one is, say, with AT&T. That's where the number is hosted now. It needs to be active. The number needs to be connected, right? And then you need to count where you're sending it to. So with us, right, you have to have an open account with us ready to receive. Both accounts have to stay active throughout the porting process. To begin the porting process, we need at least what's called a letter of agency, an LOA. We have them on our site. You can actually download it from the portal. For a local phone number, right, we also need a bill, most recent copy of your bill. Again, you can upload this to the portal, or you can just email porting@VirtualPBX, both documents. We get their documents. We submit the port request. That goes to your losing carrier. In this example, AT&T. We wait for them to respond. Right, so they're verifying the information, right? That you're the account owner, that you're authorized to send that number out. You have the address information correct, et cetera, et cetera. If everything is right, then they send, okay, yes, we're going to release the number to you on this date. Actually, I don't know if they specify the date right away, but they do say, hey, we're going to release the number to you. We get that information. We confirm when it's going to come to us. Then we let you know, yes, we got approval. Here is your estimated port date, right? When that date comes around, roughly about 8:30, between 8:30 and 9, typically, Pacific time, you'll get an email from us saying, hey, your port's completed. We've tested the number. It's working. You're good to go. Now, if there's any problem, right, i.e., like they have a different address on file than what you gave us, or you're not the authorized person on the account, etc., they will, again, let us know, and we will let you know, saying, hey, it was rejected for this reason. And more often than not, that means you need to contact your current carrier, in this case AT&T, saying, hey, what's the information I need to get the number ported out? And they'll give it to you. And again, here you have the option to sync. All right, we're going over to users. So these are all the users in the account. If you wish to add a user, click on the add user at the top, excuse me. You put their first and last name. You put their email address. Every user has to have a unique email address, right? So like if you have a group of 5 people who use support@abc.com, you can't have 5 users with support@abc.com. You could put support 1, support 2, etc. But then they're not, unless those email addresses are valid, they're not going to be able to recover passwords. You enter in a password you want it to be. You can enter in an extension number. Now, I started this system on extension 1000, so it just adds, the system automatically says, okay, what's the next available in that series? In this case, 1014. Here's your option to include in the company directory. You don't have to include at creation. You can add that later. Send email to an alternate address, so you can set it to a secondary address versus the one that you added up here at the top. And then this is probably the most important one. Send credentials to the user, i.e., so that way they know how to log in. And then you click on Create User. All right, so if you click on a name on a particular user, you can change their name. You can change their credentials. This is their voicemail box PIN, so you can enter a PIN or change their PIN. Right, you can send emails to an alternate address. Again, add a secondary address. And then here, including the company directory. Now, this is of your admin view, right? Your users are not going to have this. Over here, you can make a user an admin, or you can make an admin a user. So, if you've just signed up and you're just logging in for the first time, you probably don't want to touch this. We've had a couple customers here and there accidentally change themselves from an admin to a user. They clicked save or save changes. They logged out. They came back in, and they can't get to the admin screen. Minor hiccup, it happens. All right, time zone. You can choose a particular time zone for the user, or just leave it the company default. This is language. Choose a particular language. Ringing timeout. This is the default amount of time that the system will try to ring devices on the user. All right, default time is 20 seconds. 20 seconds is plenty of time for a landline or most VoIP phones. It can be enough time for a cell phone, but if they ever get into a heavy traffic area in terms of call traffic, or they're far away from cell phone towers, right, out in the middle of nowhere, 20 seconds is probably not going to be long enough. So in that case, like if you're only going to have cell phones on this user, you probably want to bump it up to at least like 40 seconds, or if not 60. All right, main extension number. If you have multiple extensions on a user, you want to select one, so that's their default extension. That's what the system will then associate for their voicemail box, etc. And then if you make any changes, click on Save Changes. Extensions. You can always add additional extensions to a user. Most users only need one extension. The best use case I have is our VP of Sales. He has multiple extensions because there's been some turnover in our sales department. So especially when someone leaves, he has their voicemail box, their extension go to him, so that way he's not losing any inbound messages, and that way he can make sure those potential customers can be reached out to and or assigned to another salesperson. Right. Phone numbers, you can have a specific phone number to a user, right? So in this case, bypass the virtual receptionist or your call routing that you have for the main numbers goes straight to this person. So for like your salespeople, they can have it on their business card. Hey, call this number. Call me directly. Don't go through the menu. All right, devices. So for your users to be able to take calls, they need to have a device. No devices, they're not taking calls. They're only going to get voicemails. You can add from spare devices, meaning you've already added the device to the account. Either it was on a previous user, or like if you're opening up a new location, your IT person might have just gone there like, I got 15 VoIP phones, I can just add them, and then we'll assign them to the users once we know who they are, because we don't know who's sitting where yet, etc. Or you can simply add a new device. So first option is a SIP phone or VoIP phone. Right? So VoIP is VoIP over Internet Protocol. So it uses your Internet connection to make and receive calls. And then we have these manufacturers here, Yealink, and then these particular models. So if you have one of these model phones, you can select one, and then you put a name for the phone, so Bob's phone. And then the MAC address. This is something on each phone that's unique to the phone. Usually it's a sticker on the back. Hopefully it's labeled as MAC. Sometimes it's labeled on a serial number, depending on the manufacturer. And then you would click on Create Device. Now, as far as the dashboard is concerned, you're done. However, you're going to want to go to our website. Actually, here, you can go back. And you want to look at this guide here. You need to actually go into the phone's web user interface, make some changes in that. The phone will then reboot and connect to Dash. Then the config file will go, and then your phone will be ready to work. Right. So we've got Polycom, Obahai. I'm not sure who this is new. Grandstream and Cisco. So as you can tell, we have a new one that I don't know who it is yet. So we do update these. In fact, when Dash first was released, we only had Yealink, Polycom, and Cisco. So it's something that does get updated from time to time. The advantage of using those VoIP phones and those models specific to them is you get basically all the functions that are built in those phones. Plus, you can use all the feature codes that we have for Dash. All right, cell phone. and landline are the same. You give it a name, and then you put +1 area code and number. Now, when Dash routes a call to a cell phone or landline, when you pick up, at first you're going to hear an automated voice saying, "Hey, this is a forwarded call. Please press 1." Right? So basically, the press 1 is you letting the system know, yes, you're really there to answer the call. Once you press 1, call's connected. And it's just basically, the pressing 1 is to say, "Hey, system, yes, I'm really here." Otherwise, your voicemail would pick up on a cell phone, for example. It's not going to press 1, so we'll have to call there. Now, if you click this, allow use of cell phone's voicemail, you don't have to press 1 to accept the call, right? We hear that connection tone, the system connects the call. So, i.e., if your cell phone voicemail picks up, we treat that as a connected call, which means the inbound caller ends up on your cell phone's voicemail. Some people want that, some people don't. Purely up to you. All right. Keep original caller ID. Now, by default, this starts off as checked. So that means you get the inbound caller's caller ID showing up on your cell phone. The reason you would uncheck that is that way your company, whatever company phone number they called in on, will show up on your display. So when your cell phone rings, you look at it. Oh, that's a company call. I'll take it. Or you're at a family event. You're like, I'm not working right now. I have an important family thing going on. I'll let it go to voicemail. And then hide from contact lists so that way your staff doesn't see everyone's cell phone numbers. Soft phone. Soft phone is a type of VoIP device. You want to read this? Basically about E911. Give it a name. Now, if you're using a third-party application, so XFlight from Counterpath, for example, then you would give it a name, and you would click Create Device. You would use the SIP username here, and then this SIP password to program that application. Right? Likewise, you would use a third-party soft phone to program a VoIP phone that didn't show up under the SIP phone list. Now, if you want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone, you would go down here and click on that and change it to use VirtualPBX application. And then you would click on Create Device. Now, this works because we're on a user specifically, right? So it's automatically assigned it to this particular user. Once I hit Create Device, Bob will get an email saying, "Hey, your cell phone's been created. Here are your login credentials." And then they just need to download the app. They're good to go. Right? If you go back to a third-party application, they don't get that email because, hey, you're going to have to set up yourself. Web phone. So Dash makes use of a web phone. So currently, the web phone works on Chrome or Firefox on a desktop or laptop browser. Setting up the web phone is essentially setting up a VoIP device. All right, so we go like Bob Web. And then you would click on Create Device. Once you do so, you'll have an option to log into the web phone from Chrome or Firefox, or directly from, after you'd have to log out and log back into Dash, but then you would have a web phone link at the top of the page. So then they just use their computer, use their browser, basically have a tab open to make and receive calls. Right? The web phone, as it currently is, very basic. It is basically just make and receive calls. You're not going to be able to do transfers or anything like that. Our engineers are working on a new version of the web phone. I don't know when that's coming. I don't know all the features yet that are going to be integrated into that. In terms of on mobile devices, I have been able to make use of the web phone on an Android phone with Chrome. However, I've not, in terms of customers, I've not been able to find a customer that's been able to use the web phone on an iPhone with any browser. So And that's one of the things I know our engineers are working to improve upon. Landline, same as cell phone. Fax is for a digital fax machine. I don't know of a single customer who's made use of that. And then ATA would be for an ATA adapter. An ATA adapter lets you use an old analog phone to connect it to your network, and then you could make and receive calls via your internet. It works. They were much more prevalent 5-7 years ago, but now that VoIP is much more mainstream and much more developed or much more mature, most people just find it easier to just go straight to a VoIP phone and cut out the extra device of an ATA adapter. All right, user features. Every user has all sorts of features. So caller ID number. This only works if they have a GID, right? So under the phone numbers, you can turn it on. Hey, that's my caller ID. Click Save Changes. Call forwarding. Again, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can have it off, meaning you're not using it. On, meaning, hey, forward all my calls to my, say, my mobile phone. You enter area code and phone number. Click Save Changes. So basically, any call that comes to your user will get sent to your cell phone. Now, the main thing is you don't want your cell phone as a device on the account, or even on your user at the very least, right? So that way, you basically just have the VoIP phone. That's my desk phone. I'm away from my desk. I'm going to use call forwarding, then to send it to my cell phone, right? And then there's failover mode. Basically, when the system detects that the VoIP phone is not connected to us, and call comes to your user, they'll send it to your cell phone. So when your cell phone suddenly rings, you're like, what's wrong with my desk phone? You can take the call, handle it, but then let your IT, or if you're your IT, go check out why did my VoIP phone is no longer connected, right? Did we lose internet, or did lose power to the phone? Whatever, someone kicked the cable, etc. Hot desking. This is a VoIP phone feature. It's used for basically a shared office environment where you have staff members who might be at different desks each day of the week. I basically, hey, come in. I'm working at desk number 2 today. On Wednesday I come in. Oh, I'm at desk 32 instead of 2. All right. So then what you do is you set up a hot desk ID number. You can set up a PIN if you want, but basically you go to your desk, you sit down, you pick up the VoIP phone, you hit I think it's *31 to log in. I might be wrong on the feature code. But basically, you can pick up the phone, dial into the phone, enter your hot desk ID. So that way, when calls come to your user, they go to the phone that you're sitting at. At the end of your shift, you log out of hot desking for that phone, and then you can do it again the next day. Voicemails, every user has a voicemail box created, and by default has voicemail on. All right. Users can have their own fax box. You click Enabled. The best option is to give it their own phone number. So that way, whoever's faxing just enters the number, fax the document. You can have it go to an extension. However, what that means is that the inbound person, the person who's faxing to you, has to dial one of your main numbers, has to know that extension number, and once they enter the extension number, that's when they send fax. Right? From my experience with fax machines, I normally just go up to a fax machine, enter the fax number, hit send, document gets sent out, and I walk away. So I'm like, yeah, it's going to get sent. And from what I've seen in my personal experience, that's what most people do when they send a fax out. So I strongly urge, if you're going to do that, go directly just to a specific user and a specific phone number. Follow me. Actually, this isn't a good example of follow me. So let's go down here. Follow me is for use when you have multiple devices. So by default, it has them set to do not ring. Because it's like, hey, we don't know what you want to do. But you can do here is set up your devices to ring either simultaneously. I can click on distribute, have them ring in succession. I can also click and drag to change the order, etc. Right? If you're only using one device, it doesn't matter. When you have multiple, it matters more. Music on hold. Users can have their own music or their own hold music, excuse me. Just upload the file for them. Click on Save Changes. Again, .wave.mp3. And then customize call recording. All right, so inbound internal means call from another user coming to me. So in this case, I'm not recording that. Inbound external means a call coming from a customer to me. In this case, I'm recording. Right? Outbound internal means I'm calling another user. And then outbound external means I'm calling a customer. And again, you'd get to those recordings right there under recordings. All right, groups. Also shorthand for ring groups, basically ringing a bunch of people at the same time. Right? Creating a group, you give it a name, you give it an extension number, and then you click and drag people over to create the group. Once you've got a group named, go to Borderlands 3. All right, you can always change the name again. Dialing repeats. This is how many times that inbound caller is allowed to ring the users in the group. So, and you got a little up arrow and down arrow here, so you can increase it if you need it to be more. Under members, these are all the people in the group, and then their ring times. Right, and again, I can distribute them. I can play with the sliders however I want. I can click and drag people up or down, etc. Now, the extension number for a group is basically so your staff can send callers to this group. Right, phone numbers, again, this would be a phone number that goes directly to the particular ring group, bypassing the virtual receptionist. And then over here, we have group features. Call recording for a group, it's all or nothing. You either enable it for everyone or it's not. Ring back. So this is during that dialing repeat, and then the that time. Oh, actually, I should probably go back and. So under the members, right up here, that's your ringing. How much time a caller can be ringing. So in this case, 2 minutes. Now, going back to the user feature, under ring back, this is actually the hold music while they're waiting for one of your staff members to pick up. So you can click enabled, you can click the file you want it, again, WAV or MP3. The main thing you want to make sure is that this file is at least as long as your ringing timeout for the group. So 2 minutes by default. And then click on Save Changes. Next action. So those 2 dialing repeats, right? So customer goes through once, goes through a second time, no one's picked up. What do you want the system to do with that caller? All right, you click enabled, and you can usually send it to the main menu as a default, right? So back to the virtual receptionist, they can hit menu options, or you can send it to a voicemail box. Allow call forward. This is for your VoIP users. If you enable allow call forward, you're saying, hey, if I enable this, you can now take calls on your cell phones, i.e. because you lost connection or you're going to be wandering around and not be at your desk. Caller ID prepend. Again, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can add additional name or number information so that way your staff member knows what kind of call they're getting. Right? This gives them a little heads up about what the call is going to be about. Devices. These are all the devices on your account. You can add devices here. The main caveat is you don't want to add a web phone here because you want to associate a web phone specifically to a user, so that way they can log into it. Also, for the soft phone, if you're going to use a VirtualPBX soft phone, again, you want to do that on the user page versus the device page. But beyond that, everything else is the same. You can also disable a device that you're not going to use. And you can always click on that gear or the wrench icon. That you can change the name. You have different options. And then you can always remove the device. Like, hey, we're not using it. Get rid of it. Voicemail boxes. These are the various voicemail boxes on the account. Notice that most of them have a name associated with it, right? So these are your user's personal voicemail boxes. These are intrinsically tied to the user because they're created at the same time. So you want to avoid deleting the Ray's voicemail box, right? You have the option to delete it right here. But once you do, if you recreate it manually, it's not going to be properly associated with Ray's user. And the only way to fix that is to delete Ray's user and recreate it. And the reason you'd want to manually create a voicemail box for your ring groups or for your ACD queues. So that way, like, oh, hey, just send it to this particular grouping versus using someone's personal voicemail box to handle a group voicemail. Feature codes. These are codes you can use on your VoIP phones for greater utility. These are also published on our website, so you don't have to log in to get to them all the time. Call center. This is for if you're making use of ACD queues, so they can log themselves in and out over the phone. Call forward. They can set up their own call forwarding over the phone versus going through the website. Hot desking. *11 is to log in or to enable. Then *2 is to disable, etc. Over here we have the call logs. So these are, well, there's nothing here because this is a test account, but this would be like raw call data, so you can see what happened in general. Normally you'll see things like under hang-up calls, like normal clearing means, hey, the call ended normally as far as the system is concerned. If you see something different there, then you're like, what's going on? And you probably have to contact support to dig into it deeper. Go over to queues. All right, so these are your queues. You can either add a new queue or we can click on the gear icon here. You can change the name. Here's the call-in number, or I can give it an extension number. You have advanced routing options. So a queue is basically a souped-up version of a ring group, right? Ring groups, basically, you can have them call in order or all at once, and that's basically it. Whereas in a queue, you've got these other options. So round robin, essentially random, although over the long term, it will balance out among the users. Least calls means whoever's has the least amount of connected calls will get the next call that comes in, right? So Bob has talked to 5 people. Mary has only talked to 2. Mary's getting the next call that comes in, right? Least offers, similar to calls, except that these are just calls that have been offered. So Mary has been offered 35 calls. Bob's only been offered 5. Well, Bob's going to get the next call that comes in, right? And then most idle is who's been waiting for the call the longest, i.e. who's bored. Hold treatment, you can again have a music file, .wav.mp3, and you have the option to upload. Queue timeout in sections, basically how long can the people, your callers, your customers, wait on hold. Queue call limit, basically how many people you're willing to let be in the queue. And if you hit at 0, it means there's no limit. Timeout immediately if empty, meaning if you have no staff logged in, just have the callers go basically to voicemail. Escalation queue. So if you have multiple queues, you can say, oh, there's no one here or they're all busy. I can send them to my next queue, right? So that way they're like, hey, this group wasn't available. I'm going to send you to my secondary group. Now, if you keep this on none, right, and again, call comes in, weren't able to speak to any of your agents, then you can send them to voicemail box so they can leave a message. Agent recovery time, basically after they've completed a call, you give them time in seconds, in this case 30, to recover, right? So they're finishing up their ticket, they're getting a sip of water, whatever, they're standing and stretching. Force away on rejected or missed. So if an agent misses a call or rejects a call, then if you have this enabled, the system will put them automatically in away mode, meaning they won't be offered any more calls until they actually change their status. And then agent connect timeout in seconds, basically how long it's trying to ring to that agent. Go ahead and cancel out of this. Main thing to keep in mind for your agents in the ACD queue is that their calls are only going to be routed to VoIP devices in a queue, right? So if your user has a cell phone and a VoIP phone and they're in a queue, only their VoIP phone will ring when they're offered calls from a queue. Blacklist, as I alluded to earlier, this allows you to block callers from reaching your system. Click on Edit. Always change the name. Block Anonymous means that there's no valid caller ID information. Turn that on. And then here you just add +1 area code phone number. And then you would click Save. And you go back to Settings. And you just want to make sure that it's in selected, right? Once you have it in selected, that means that list is active, right? If you move it over back here, you click Update. So now only the cuckoo list is active, whereas the block no caller ID was removed. So yes, you can have multiple lists, or you can just have one huge one. Up to you. Faxes, again, you can get to any fax box. There's not much to go over here or under voicemail. Oh, I want to cover one other thing under user portal. The other thing that might, if you're making use of the conference bridge, then under your conference section for the user, they have some controls, right? So here, they can add people, other users on the account. They can lock it so other people cannot enter, right? They can mute everybody. They can unmute everybody. They can also end the call. The other thing is, if you have actual participants in here, you can mute a particular participant. You can kick a particular participant as well. But that is everything on Dash. So, sorry, oh, okay, and just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, so up here, gets you to the web phone interface. Again, web phone uses your same username, account name, and password as your Dash login. And then the store link. Oh. There we go. And the main thing people buy from us is our VoIP devices. Looks like we have some sales going on. And I'm pretty sure your code also stacks, but I don't know for certain. Anyway, so that's everything for Dash. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.